Hello, Culture Matters podcast. I am very pleased to introduce you to our guest. Before I do that, here's a quote just for this episode. Adopt the pace of nature. Her secret is patience. Ralph Waldo Emerson. Our guest today is a great friend of the Culture Matters podcast. Believe it or not, they were on season 7, episode 82, and season 42, episode 497 of the Culture Matters podcast. They started their unbelievable kingdom, Asphalt Kingdom, in November of 2002. An early executor, visionary in the online marketing world, and a mentor and an advisor to so many small businesses throughout the United States that do things that add value to our residential and even our commercial properties that we might take for granted. We could talk about that a little bit today. They are the founder of the Arawak Beach Club and the Anguilla Water Sports, I believe, as well as along with a real estate investor now and a friend of the Culture Matters. I could say more. I should. They as well. Oh, the Asphalt Kingdom Dash, I believe, AK Dash. It's a training program in a community. So we could talk about all that stuff. But if you haven't listened to those episodes of Judd, oh yeah, Judd Burdon, thanks for coming back on the show. If you haven't listened to episode 82, go take a look at that episode after this. This episode in episode 497. I was just re-listening to the Manichilla I can't say that. Mannequin. Oh man.
Manchineel tree.
Manchineel. Yeah. Judd, thanks for coming back on the Culture Matters podcast. And thanks for your friendship and leaning into to me over the years. And it means a lot. It's good to be seen.
Good to be here with you, man. It's I was reflecting on actually not just being on Culture Matters, but like the times that we had met in person and energy and frequencies. And so it's really good to be here with you, back into this energy, this flow, that I really respect and enjoy. Time is such a precious thing. And so we've got to make sure that we're getting into that place, that vibration that is very meaningful to us, I think, as much as we can. But yeah, it's good to be here with you, man. Really good to be here.
I was very inspired by your move into it. If you can expand on this, did I say that correctly? Dash, Asphalt Kingdom Dash. It looks like or go ahead.
Yeah, so it's AK Dash, and it's interesting. As I've grown our businesses, there's this realization that you want to continue to develop enterprise value with your businesses. And EBITDAs become things that you start to pay attention to when you start learning about them, and multipliers and these different things. And Asphalt Kingdom sells equipment and supplies online, of course, helping to start small businesses in the asphalt maintenance and repair niche. And it also does provide free resources and tools, and really trying to help people with the yellow brick road of building successful businesses. But e-commerce it didn't struggle. We grew to a multi-eight-figure company over 20 years, but 20 years later, we're looking at our net profit and our EBITDA, and we're looking at the multipliers attached to it, and we're like, well, even if you have a couple million, $2 or $3 million on the bottom line, you're looking at things saying, well, 3 or 4 time multiplier, I've got a $10 million valuation or whatever it is. After 20 years, is that where I want to be? And is that where the teams of people we've built want to be if there's an exit and or continuation? So then we started to learn about the importance of SaaS and AI and integrating things that had MRR and recurring revenue models that had lifetime values that were highly profitable, but also solved people's pain at a deeper level. And so that's where AK
Wow.
Dash came about, was building out a business solution that's kind of a CRM that integrates sales pipelines and assessment tools and job costing calculators, and then tying in. We just recently did a strategic partnership with Attentive.ai, an exclusive strategic partnership, in being able to integrate auto takeoffs where we can essentially punch in an address, select the boundary lines of the property, and it will automatically do a full auto takeoff completely for a property, and give it a blueprint and aerial takeoff. And so there's some really neat things. So
Wow.
as we started to get into the SaaS world, we realized that integrating AI also increased the multiplier massively. so so the goal was to really understand that, Jay, I'll tell you what happened, man. 20 years, I love what I do. I loved what I did even more. And
Mm.
I loved past tense. And it came to a point where it was like, I am the bottleneck in the company. We've got to start to work together on helping more people be more successful. Selling equipment and supplies is not going to do that. It's a byproduct. So that's where AK Dash was birthed. Yeah.
How much of that do you think is just the natural evolution of your growth as a founder, maturing into this? So for just want to say 2002 to 2025, what a testament of fortitude and consistency and core values. The fact it is so hard to do this business thing. How did I even get up this morning to do another podcast? Oh my God. It's so I do want to acknowledge you for that. What very 23 years. So my question in that is, and so for our listeners, like that is a very successful, everything you just said, statistically, very successful. At least statistically, like to where you got up to here. Um, my question is, how much do you think it's the evolution of, I guess, the identity of the brand, the identity of the brand, or um,
It was
the
me.
relationships that you built with your clients and customers over the years. It's like, what else can we do for them? And so, yeah, I'm just curious about that.
It it was you have to become
Like, you've have
you
to have grown with a lot of these people over the years. That's like, because it's so, yeah, you've had to have grown with a lot of them to where it's like, what else can we accomplish together? So there's my bow on the.
think is, as humans, we're selfish. Like we're selfish, um, dishonest people, generally, in each and every one of us. And there were many years with Asphalt Kingdom where it was all about how many crack sealing machines and spray systems we could sell. And it was like, we set out our budgets based upon unit sales, average order values, number of orders in a customer's lifetime, average number of orders, and then lifetime value. And it was not, we were not focusing on lifetime value enough.
Hmm.
Because if we would have focused on lifetime value way more, then we would have come up with the yellow brick road to achieve that, which is by helping create inevitable success for the businesses that we were selling equipment to. So we had to pivot in order to create more success, for both parties. As you just said, having a tide that rises together is going to float the boat even more, right? And so to me, that was
Yeah,
like we
yeah.
we started to do these roundtables every Wednesday at 7 p.m. and we'd have 40, 50, 60 people come on to these live roundtables where we'd speak about success, because we truly believe that the more we speak about success, it becomes magnetic and more people will start to engage into that vibration of success when they're hearing it. They become more convicted in their belief of I could be successful as well. The challenge with those meetings is that they're a live 1 hour meeting. It's like hosting a retreat. That time is intense in that moment, and people fall in love, and there's energy, and there's all this stuff that happens as in a very intense vibration. But then people leave and they're like, man, I'm alone again, and I'm trying to navigate the fog again. And so what we had to come up with, and there was this growth up until AK Dash, where it was like, okay, we created a Make It a Biz Pack. A Make It a Biz Pack has the resources and tools and job costing calculators. Now go do it on your own. And it's like, that was the problem, is we're teaching people how to do it, that they'd have to then go and do, but they didn't have the system that would hold them accountable and actually give them the revenue roadmaps and the details that they needed, and hold them accountable with coaches to achieve the goals.
Boom. Well, that's brilliant, because culture is the invisible glue.
Yeah.
It's it's gravity. You take the sun out, what happens? The planets aren't orbiting anything. They're not even, what are they? Just hunks of rock. That's how, what was it like the first couple times? Because started getting everyone together? When I say everyone, we're talking about customers?
Yeah. So the roundtables every Wednesday at 7 was getting people together. So
Virtually?
virtually, and we would do live events every quarter as well, where we called them the AK roundups, where we'd have 50 to 100 people come to do these roundup events. And we started realizing that in the blue collar world, and you've seen this as well with TCS and working with Brian, of course, you've seen blue collar, we needed to bring back love to people, because a lot of blue collar workers and businesses out there go out 14 hours a day, drinking from a fire hose, bleeding from the hands, feet that they can barely walk on anymore. And they come home to a dinner that's in the microwave waiting for them while their children are sleeping in bed and their wife's in bed sleeping as well. And so they're constantly going, and they're constantly fighting to support the family. And is that supporting the family? It is, but is there more to it than not having any time with your children and your wife? And so I think that's where these roundtables started to surface. It happened to be Asphalt that was the doorway, the industry. But behind that doorway, oh man, did we start realizing that people were alone, man, like totally alone. And they were suffering really bad.
Yeah.
And we all suffer, but the reality is they were in a place where it's like, I don't kick the sheets off anymore when I wake up excited to do what I'm doing. And like, that was something that started to open up. Well, now you're communicating all of your pain, guys. Talk to us more. Tell us more about what's going on. We don't need to talk about how you're going to seal coat a driveway from left to right in this roundtable. If this roundtable is more about life and how we can get together to build lives that we enjoy more, that we're more fulfilled. And so that's what started to happen. And the pain point was that they didn't have enough time. And do we have enough time? I don't like it was management of time.
Sure.
I think we all get 24 hours a day, unless something catastrophic happens or whatever it is that's not in our control. But in that 24 hours, we gotta really make sure that we're doing the things that allow us and the people around us to feel as fulfilled as we possibly can, I believe. So that's where AK Dash as a business solution was birthed, because it kept them organized, but also helped them manage their time more and focus on the things that truly mattered from a business standpoint. We had people that were wanting to go out and seal coat 2,000. They wanted to do $1 million in revenue. And in their head, it was like, well, I'm just going to go out and work as hard as I can to achieve that. There was no yellow brick road to get there. It was like, okay, well, now I need to do $2,500 driveways. And it's like, no, you need to do 12 and a half, $85,000 jobs. Let's go put out 50 proposals at $85,000 a piece at a 25% conversion rate to get your 12 and a half jobs. And that's where we became That's why Dash was truly birthed, because it was a huge pain point, time.
So we're gathering weekly, we're meeting quarterly, and now we have an operating system internally to attract and level up, attract students, the students in the sense that they're bought into this career as their way of aiming up, as Peterson would say, their way of aiming up. They're bought into the career. You're creating that community for them to come together and providing them with the education to know where to aim.
Nicely. And what happened, it's interesting because I reflect on when I first started Asphalt Kingdom in 2002, apologies. I read a book written by Dr. Ken Evoy called Make Your Site Sell 2002. It was MYSS 2002, I believe. And it was at the beginning of the year. And I read the book, and it taught you how to build an online business that could work. Could work if you did the things that he said to do. But now I needed to figure out hosting. I needed to figure out how to write keyword optimized content. I needed to write headlines and HTML, and I had to figure out all of these pieces that turned into a jambalaya. The book was great, but I'm a super extroverted individual that's distracted all the time by everything going on. And I have this cool thing that my mother said to me when I was younger, that it's like a superpower, my ADHD. But whatever's going on, I'll just say that I read the book and I was really having a hard time figuring out how to put all the pieces together.
Sure.
A lot of people would. But then he came out with a product called Site Build It. And Make Your Site Sell was the action guide, but now Site Build It was everything you need to build, manage, market your online business, including all of the templates, all of the tools, all of the keyword analyzers, the keyword research tools, the form build its, and anybody could do this. If you knew how to check an AOL email back then, you could build a website. And so he silver plattered this business solution that allowed me to register asphaltkingdom.com that now is finding solutions 22 years later that I should have applied that learning. And I think that's a super huge takeaway, is that my mission was to sell as many machines as I could because I was looking at money. I was focused on the wrong thing for many, many years. And now we're sitting at a really cool spot in this journey, which is valuations of our organization, which is important to us, are going on this vertical climb by actually providing solutions to people that help them achieve inevitable success, whatever that success is defined to be. In this particular case, for the majority, is giving them their time back and less chaos in the mind because of disorganized environments.
What's the fruit? What results have come from? What have you seen in other people's lives?
Incredible, like dramatic changes, right? You have people that are, asphalt maintenance is very seasonal. So, you have a run that's from like April right through till about November, and then you're kind of shut down throughout the winter, right? And so there's tactical approaches to go out and do pothole hunting throughout the winter, because the majority of companies aren't going out to do that, especially large paving companies. So there's a niche that can be filled. But the system that we've created, the AK Dash system, what it really did was it provided people with the understanding that $200,000 in revenue is not enough to create the freedom that they're actually looking to achieve in the scenario that they're looking for something more. So some people wanted more, and then there was other people who desired more. Big difference, I think. But for the people that actually desired more, they just didn't have the pathway to get there. And now giving them that pathway and holding them accountable to that, like we have our virtual coaching team as well that works with our clients to make sure their sales pipeline is in tune and in check and set to their revenue roadmaps that are programmed into the system based upon the onboard and and understanding where people want to go. As an example, if somebody's, let's just say it's Rob that owns Rob's Asphalt Maintenance down in Ohio, let's say, right? And he says, well, I want to do $1 million this year. And I'm like, no, 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 no. It's not about the $1 million. Tell me what you want. Like, where do you want to travel? What kind of home do you want? Be realistic, but like, how much time do you want with your family? Do you want to be able to go to the gym? Do you want to go to the grocery store and not need to look at the pricing on the shelves? Do you tell me about
Mm,
you so that I can understand you better so that we can shape something based upon what you're telling me down the road? And it's like, I think one of the amazing takeaways on that awesome interview with Jordan Peterson that you did. And if you, there's so many people that have these vision boards that are on the wall, right? And these vision boards can be whatever material things or destinations that they are. That's a vision board. But it's not enough, man. Like if you don't have some kind of an 18-month plan to get you there, or a year plan, or some kind of a yellow brick road that you're working backwards from that vision board to where you are in the ultimate present right in this very moment. If you don't have that plan, how are you going to know to navigate that if you've never done that before? It would be like a heart surgeon going into, or somebody who needs heart surgery, and you walk in and you have zero experience with any kind of cardiovascular surgery, and you're going to go in and operate. Well, you've never done it before, but you can start. It's not, if you just take the time to actually put your phone aside and your laptop and everything aside, and you just clear your environment and you take 45 minutes of thinking time, and you start to work backwards from that destination that you desire to actually live. Manifestation, that word has not just come up for some magical reason. There's true reason. I can't manifest something that I don't believe in with the utmost conviction. It's impossible. But if I can get there with my mind, if I can go into the future and I can feel what it's like, not just feel, but I can feel the wind. I can feel the sun. I can smell the flowers. I know I'm eating a ribeye steak with Montreal steak spice, not oversalted, but just there. And the people that I'm going to be with in that environment in the future, those people are going to be with me in that environment. And my family is going to be dancing and singing. Well, I'm just freestyling here, but the
yeah,
reality is the more you paint it, the more intensely that you paint it with more colors and more textures, the more likely it is that you're going to achieve it. It's happened for me.
that's actually, it's funny you're saying this, exciting, because it's actually in one of the lectures in Peterson Academy on the course, How to Plan Your Life. And that would be like a positive construct. Then there's the negative association where they're asking the student to visualize, let's say, the behaviors that we do that we know we shouldn't. Visualize 5 years out. Who are you? Where are you at? What are the consequences? Like you're teaching from this, aspects of what you're teaching are in that wonderful course. I recommend everyone listening. It's on the Peterson Academy. It's How to Plan Your Life. So kudos on that. I do want to, credit where credit's due. I think in some give yourself credit. However many years ago this was, the something inside of you, and you mentioned Brian, huge contributor to the show, brother to both of us, um, inspiration. You guys did an event together 7 years ago, something like that. Like that's a strong foreshadow in a sense to all of this. And like, I'm curious. My thought that comes to that is that leadership quality has been inside of you, shaking itself around to come out. But in a sense, as a third party observer, it ultimately had to come through you, right? If I'm thinking of like vertical integration, Judd, the hero in the journey, the person that was like eating microwave food, late at night, in Canada, right? Canada takes, seeks mentorship. Hey, what should I do next? Hey, go here. I have a connection for you. It's this online thing. Nobody's doing that. Only a crazy person would be into that. Right? The visionary, like you're like, all right, let me get this book. You teach yourself something that most people would just make an excuse for or not bother. So that's the internet stuff. Then you put yourself in a setting to be able to focus and do it. I mean, being on an island in my mind is like I'm what's that story where you burn the boats? There's that metaphor.
Yeah.
They burned the
Starting
boats and
Beach
they
to
had
North.
to store. Yeah, like you're burning the boats behind you. You can only move forward. So yeah, you build the business. It's said it's successful, but it's all relative, right? It's what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? But something about your story and who you attract in your life, Brian, me, others, uh, has brought you here, where you have this culture, this community, this. So I just want to acknowledge that and see if that sparks any thoughts in your mind. Because when I think about the the valuation, the value proposition, like this is just part of the game. Like I hope to be there someday too, right? It's the next level, the next level, the next level. And now before you know it, you have this massive company and it's like, wait, how did I get here? But I guess the
So
point of that was you've been doing the community, like seeking the community aspect to you, the value proposition for your customers for almost 10 years, at least to mine, because I've known you for eight, maybe seven. Is it 7 years?
yeah,
Maybe six.
yeah, 8 years, 7 years. Yeah, 7 years.
So yeah, thoughts on it.
All right.
And now it's real. And it's
This
right.
is this is a big one though. This is like now you've there's something to unpack from this. So I just finished my first book. Super excited about that. And
Unperfect, right?
Unperfect. Yeah, my
Sorry I
first.
didn't shout it out on the episode. I was looking at Facebook this morning. I
Oh,
was
good.
like, oh, I need to make sure to. Yes, Judd, you're an author. Congratulations on that.
Thank you. So it literally 2.5 years in the making, and it's unperfect, and it's my first half, right? And so I'm 46 years old now. Finished it when I was 45. We're going through some final editing right now, and it will be live. So stay tuned for that link that's up there, and of course, Jay, you'll get the autographed version. Wink.
Yeah, I'd like to read it. We come back on the show and we'll talk about the
Yeah.
book.
Yeah, I'll go back to a piece in the book, a chapter in my youth. I'm a big believer in culture as well. Culture really does matter. And
Amen.
amen. And we've studied the culture index and we've put all of our team members through it and family. And so we've learned a lot about traits and behaviors and understanding where stress can really come in and pain and these kind of things. And also where people reinvent themselves. And let me just tell you this, like this is something that was this way, and it was one of the most painful times in my life, but one of the most important things that ever happened. And it's interesting how that happens. Some of the most painful things in your life actually become the most important things in your life. A lot of people run from pain, yet they could be the most incredible thing that could change the way that you feel and the way that your future unfolds. And when I was 6 years old, I went into grade one. And man, was I bullied and beat up, and kids would laugh at me. I had these big red glasses, and I went into Windermere Elementary School, and man, oh man, did I hate school right out of the get go. I I didn't like being bullied. Who would spoken to in a way that made me feel like nothing. And I went through that for the better part of 3 years till I was 9 years old. Well, if you study traits and behaviors, the majority of us end up having a lot of this programming that takes place up until the point we hit 9 years old. And so I went through this first stage of really these emotional footprints that massively made me feel alone. Like I would have been happy just sitting in a closet at that age. And then my parents saw this and heard about it, and I would talk to them a little bit about it, but they were like, "Well, is that really happening, Judd? Just this and that, right, Judd? Don't worry." And then finally came to the point where we're going to change him into private school. And that was at 10 years old. I went to Cooper Academy and everybody wore the same uniform, Jay. Every single person wore the same uniform. Even better so, in the car, I took off my glasses.
Mm.
I didn't need the glasses anymore. I didn't want the glasses. I didn't care if I couldn't see all that well. I was going to take off the glasses. I was going to use some of Mom's hair mousse, to
Yeah.
shape my hair. And I was going to walk into that school, this transformed, reinvented child. And I walked into that school, and within the first 6 months, I was like the fastest runner. I was popular. I was teaching people how to dance back then, and it was like back when Backstreet Boys were there and Milli Vanilli and all these ones. But it was a time where I reinvented myself and learned how to become accepted through external creations of the way that I was looking, and the way that I was speaking was different. And in that moment, I realized that there's an opportunity for me to feel better about myself by being accepted by others. And that went down a path for years that was very, very different than where I am now, obviously. But doing that back then was very different. But when I was more in the spotlight and more accepted, I became more influential as well, because I learned how to influence. And you learn how to influence in a variety of ways. Well, how are you influencing, right? Am I focusing on dark influence, or am I focusing on bright influence? We could go really deep on that one, but probably not right now for time. But I chose to dabble in both as a teenager. I was exploring. And so dabbling with both allowed me to really understand that there's pain on both sides. No matter what, there's pain, but where am I going to allocate the majority of my time in my day? Am I going to focus on the dark side or on the light side? And so what happened throughout the years was that I was GMA champion wrestler, freestyle wrestler growing up in high school, played hockey, and became this. I went from being a loser to a champion. And that from there carried on of that mindset that I never, ever, ever want to go back to the pain that I felt for those 3 years. It was that painful that I never wanted to be there. But that pain is what transformed me into being able to become influential, which is also a very big responsibility for anyone who's a leader, because it can be very dangerous if you're not influencing the right way based upon the knowledge and experience that you've packed into yourself, and it can get very dangerous. So fortunately, throughout the years, I've surrounded myself with really, really great people that those vibrations have connected, and we've done things like retreats and the content that we push out online. And it's really geared towards the core values that I had set forth for myself when Theo went through, that was going back 8 years ago when he passed away and came back to life. I think we spoke about that on a previous episode. That's a really wild, amazing story, by the way. You should all go back and listen to that episode with Theo. Literally, her son died and came back to life. It's a really wild and incredible story. But it was
it's episode 82.
Episode 82, yeah. Yeah. And so from there, it was core values, and the core values became very, very clear to me. I was passionate about helping people, positive in all interactions, striving to be our best, lighthouse in all situations, and then pay it forward. And that the core values became the foundation of what we operate from. And as long as we were operating as closely as we could to the core values, which is like the rails for a locomotive, we found that culture started to get fueled. And when you have core values that you're operating from, and you have strong culture, and you're in that mindset of higher vibrations, a lot of people are attracted to you, and you can give a shit ton more than if you didn't.
Hmm. Where do you go from here?
It's actually a very interesting question, because at 46 years old right now, time is becoming more important to me than it used to be. After writing that book, the first half, it's like the second half. And I sit with my 94-year-old grandmother and I'm like, Grandma, tell me about time and the way that you interpret it and what you think about that. And if you could go back to being 46, what are some of the things that you would do differently? Which is pretty awesome to sit down with your grandmother to be able to do that, because if it wasn't for her, chances are you wouldn't be alive anyway, right? Because so you're sitting there having the conversation with one of the creators of, it's pretty cool. And then
I think
you're
so,
having
yeah.
this, and so what's happening next is that um, I'm building the businesses to serve people with the solutions to their problems as much as I can at a level that's um, way wider than what we have historically. Impact to me is not 10,000 people. Impact to me is millions of people. And so how do we create systems that can solve those problems and also invest our time in the areas that you can be extremely influential, but with a large audience? And I think it's one of the reasons you probably do Culture Matters, is because it maybe impact.
I Schop Schopenhauer said you can do what you can will wait, why do I never get this quote right? Yeah, you can do what you want, you can't want what you want. You can will what you want. You can't want what you want. I know it's who I am, and I'm still figuring out who I am. Like I've always been a teacher, I've always been a student. Whether I fully, I got off the recording or a meeting with my new tutor, and she said very quick, she figured it out in about 5 seconds, 5 minutes. Your education, you have the education, you're probably at 11 years old from an education standpoint. It's like, yes, that's exactly true. And that's led to so much learning that's created so much value for the small businesses that we've gotten to work with. It's like, why do I do this? It's what I've always done. It's I've tried to do other things and it always came back to this. That's the answer. It's who I am. It's what I've always done. It's my calling. I don't know about anybody else. I'm not focused on that. Like I, I, my job when it comes to the other is to listen, is to ask questions, is to uncover their genius. But culture matters. This is who I am. This is the mission.
You do, however, I'm sure that you'd love more people to watch it and to listen to it.
Absolutely. I think well, and there's like influence is an interesting thing because so yes, yes, I and are you referring to the podcast specifically or
Yeah, maybe part of it. Yeah, like I
yeah.
think that that's for
I,
me.
if
Yeah, like I'm trying
if
to
we're
understand. I'm trying to understand, right? It's like, okay, so it's you,
well,
but
let's put it in perspective. I like philosophizing about
you,
entrepreneurship.
right.
but I like philosophizing about everything. I philosophize. It's and a component of philosophizing is being a student of life and as teacher. And it's like the business has is become business. Business has been the medium for me to do so based on my biography, right? That's the like some. Hey, here's how it's happened. So to answer your question more succinctly, yes, I feel a responsibility for, and actually, when a business starts to become successful and adopted, now there's other people relying on us to get our asses out of bed so that they can eat and drink water and have shelter, and potentially, if they actually like working with us, for us, and it doesn't feel like for, but it's with, they start planning their future around us, and their identity is impacted by what we do and don't do. And then it becomes even more than just what whatever calling I think I have or responsibility to the world about culture. It's like, oh, now it's like there's a great responsibility to do the show, to serve the customer, to get more customers, to learn all these new things. Like the last time we met up, you wanted to learn about. I love this, inspiring to me. Uh, financial finance, essentially, and clearly you have, like from the last episode to this episode. So that's an exciting, I think, open loop for our next show. In the is like the answer is yeah, but it's I have so much that I'd love to explore on that. It's and
Sounds good.
yeah, it's the journey is painful, and that's why it's has the possibility for meaning.
So, and then the meaning, like when as we're speaking about this, right? I'm sitting here behind a laptop having this awesome conversation. All the listeners that are here, thank you for listening. By the way, this is hopefully you get a golden nugget that you can take away or expand your peripheral vision a little bit. We're we're sitting or driving or wherever we are on planet Earth, which is this massive ball of dirt that's spinning at 1,004 miles an hour, ripping through this universe. And we feel so much like there's so much that's going on. And then we think about like our consciousness that exists, whatever your belief is. And I think that it's like we're sitting here as educated as we are, whatever you've been exposed to, whatever you've educated yourself with, books that you read, the people that you surround yourself. Is it all right? No, it's not. Are you reading and listening to things to unlearn the shit that is from your past? Maybe. Maybe you're just going to be convinced that it is the truth, but it's not. It's a lie. And it's like we're sitting here on this journey, and it's like 46 years old, and I don't know if I pray that I have another half, right? My book's called My First Half. That's basically assuming that I'm going to get a second half, kind of, in a sense. And
Yeah.
it's like maybe not. And I think that it's so incredible that on the Culture Matters podcast that we can actually speak about things that go so much deeper than just business. Business is really important, but it goes so much deeper. And I think that that's the thing for me, just like the Manchineel Tree, as you would have heard,
Oh
the
yeah.
Theo story, right? We all have these emotional footprints that we go through, and it's literally expanding our peripheral vision and experiencing life at a different level than we did before. And it doesn't take much to live life more intensely if you're willing and open to just put in a little bit. Just a little bit. And that's what so what's next for me, to be honest, is continue to educate myself and experience life more intensely. It's a better answer.
If you're listening to this podcast, share this with somebody you care about. Please leave us a review on the Culture Matters podcast. Judd, one place people can find you, follow you.
Social channels. You can find me on Facebook, Judd Burdon, on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on YouTube. And of course, you can also reach us at any point in time through asphaltkingdom.com. Go check out the kingdom. It's pretty cool what we've been able to build and serve. And of course, that book is coming soon as well. We'll make the announcement down the line.
Thank you for listening. Can't wait till next time. We will see you on the next episode of the Culture Matters podcast.